Welcome to this next episode of YouTube where I've entitled it Updates on the Medical Exam and also a little rundown of our webinar trial run and a little bit of feedback on how that went. So basically, we talked about last time that we did a medical exam on Aidan, and that was because we were concerned about a little bit of a distention of his belly, certainly him having a little bit higher respiration rates, panting quite a bit because he doesn't look comfortable. So we decided in the fall of the year is the best time to get that information or to get him out of the pack and get this done. We really don't ever want to take a dominant pack leader out in the wintertime. And so we made the choice to take him out. And just to give you an idea how it's done, we moved everybody else away from the exhibit, which I kind of talked about last week. We drugged Aidan out of sight of the exhibit pack, took him to the clinic, got him back, put him back in the exhibit, made sure he was stable. So several hours later, before we let the exhibit pack wolves back in. And so it was safe for Aidan. We got him back in. He lost no status. But unfortunately, we got no data. Well, I shouldn't say that. The good news is he has no tumors. He has no infection. He has no cortisol problems. He has no stress hormone issues. The bad news is he's still got a belly that's a little distended. So we are going back to some issues of maybe some gastrointestinal bloating, some possibility of some stress or something that doesn't sit right with him, or unfortunately a summer of enclosure enrichment where maybe his metabolism can't have that many snacks or treats during the summer. So we'll be watching that closely, try to make sure that he helps lose a little bit of weight. But the fact of the matter is, this also kind of coincides with Luna and Bolts coming in. Luna is one of those wolves who seems to need a meal more frequently, and so Luna's been getting fed, obviously, quite a bit since she's been in the pack, and that means that sometimes the other wolves pick up a little bit of extras. So that's something that we're going to have to really watch, something that we're going to have to hopefully try to adjust to make sure that Luna gets her fair share, and even Bolts for that matter. Bolts is a 2.5-year-old going on 3. He's definitely needs to fill out a little bit. We just have to figure out how to deliver those special needs without affecting Aidan's waistline. So we're working on that. Now, the other questions that we've kind of had with Aidan was, is there anything physically wrong that make you irritable and make you a little bit more dominant in a pack leader? And the answer is no. This just probably is how Aidan decides to run his pack. Pretty swift delivery of dominance, and he actually got Luna to roll over, so that's quite good. But no physical biting, and again, this is just the way wolves do. Is they assert their position with loud, noisy, direct dominance, and that's supposed to remind the other wolves of their status. Well, Luna gets up and runs right at him and kind of does it again. So Aidan has been doing this a little bit of avoidance, trying to get away from Luna, and we've been monitoring that a little bit. Certainly we don't want him to avoid her altogether, but he seems to be dealing with how to respond to this over-anxious, unstable kind of energy that Luna seems to deliver all the time. And at first we thought it was kind of just Luna, but then, Bolts has been kind of starting to pick up on things. When Aidan's a little not feeling very well and a little intimidated, Bolts is right there as well to move in. And Bolts is one of those wolves that I've got to work really hard on gaining his trust, and I don't have his trust right now. And so we started watching Bolts and Luna. Luna's doing a little bit of obnoxious submission to Bolts. He seemed to have he must have read the same manual that Aidan did, because he's getting pretty kind of in your face, back off, give me some space, communication with Luna as well. So maybe it's just that time of the year. Hormones are kind of increasing, and certainly a lot of activities going on. Now, Luna's not the only one who's kind of getting it. Poor Denali there gets rolled over, and you saw his tail was tucked from Luna, but it just might be a young wolf thing. Trying to push your buttons, trying to test your limits. And the good thing is for Aidan and Denali, after a while, it's just Luna and Bolts who kind of do that interactions with each other, and they're just as soon as the 6-year-olds to be able to watch it from afar. So we know that Luna's got status, and Luna is in fact displaying that status passively here by doing a stand over Bolts. So she's trying to stand over his head. Bolts is not all that interested in having dominance from a pup mate. So Luna's dominant because she's the only pack female, but she's not getting the respect from Bolts that one would suspect if Bolts would have joined a pack with an existing dominant female. I suspect Bolts would be greeting, would be grooming, would be, paying homage to that dominant female the same way that he does with Aidan. But it's hard to pay homage to a litter mate or a pup mate, not a true litter mate, but a pup mate that you kind of wrestle with. So I think that takes time. And again, they're 2.5. They're going to be 3. So we're going to see that settle in as Bolts matures to an adult and Luna matures to an adult. I believe that they're going to settle in on that role. But I do always believe that there's going to be a little bit of that reverting back to pup mate kind of wrestling that you see. And granted, they're noisy, but they're not fights. They're just dominance. The louder you make the noise, the more serious your message is. So it's really ritualized, and it's really avoids a lot more serious fights. For Denali, it kind of is probably a little bit hard. Denali just wants to, Denali just wants to have some fun. He's chewing on my belt there, and now he's chewing on some beef. And Denali does not want to get engaged in any of this strife. He just as soon eat and be petted, or interact with staff. So the other question that we are looking at is, are we going to have a pair bond here with these two dominant wolves? I don't know. Every once in a while we think there's hope. Last week's photo in the wolf vlogs showed a parallel gait, just happened to be on opposite feet, which we think was kind of unique given the fact that these two are kind of opposite wolves. But we are seeing this sleeping together, and so one of the things, this was a real rainy day here, so we put some new chips under the eaves to give them a soft place to lie down in the rainstorm, and they are sleeping together. And it's not Aidan who's going to Luna. It's Aidan who's finding a comfortable place to rest, and Luna who's coming to him. So that's got to give us hope that maybe when she's 3, we'll see a little bit more, pair bonding social behavior, and a little less of that kind of antagonistic, let's get in everybody's faces behavior. Or maybe that's her personality, and that's the kind of relationship they're going to have. But, Bolt and Luna are young. Obviously, I am, watching how Bolt and Luna treat Aidan, because sometimes when Aidan's engaged with Luna, Bolt is very quick to come behind him. And on the webinar, actually, we had a great webinar. It was a lot of fun, and we're still learning how to do these. But what's interesting, I blocked Aidan from the camera on the webinar, and that put Aidan in the subordinate posture, and Bolts was immediately on him, seeing that as weakness. And so I want to be really careful that I don't do anything to make Aidan weak. That was Aidan responding to the dinner bell or something over on the other side of the pen. So anyway, so that's the exhibit pack. Again, Grizzer has 3 areas he can roam. He's having a little bit of an adjustment. I started teaching at the college, so that means Tina is not coming to work with me as much. So he's having a little bit of that lost. I can't, my routine changed, and certainly just my time has changed here at the center. So that's causing him a little bit more anxiety. But he's certainly doing well. We're trying to get more staff time in. As a matter of fact, 2 or 3 times a week, I'm going to try to double up the time that we have with him to try to help him through that. And certainly Tina can still come and visit. It's just that Tina doesn't want to sit in a truck all day while I'm teaching from coming from the Wolf Center in the morning to coming to the Wolf Center later in the afternoon. So Grizzer's doing well. And yes, as far as the webinar, we will, on Grizzer's birthday, Cinco de Mayo, May 5th, have a broadcast right from Grizzer's enclosure. So that'll be kind of special. I'm actually looking forward to that. And we did get an ice bucket challenge, the Wolf Care staff and me in particular, from Wolf Park. And so it's right now like 42 degrees and raining, so I could just maybe stand outside, and that might qualify for an ice bucket challenge. But on a nice sunny day, maybe Sunday, I'll try to get that challenge addressed and film it and YouTube it. I'm not going to do it in the exhibit pack, because if I kind of, act kind of strange because I have ice on me, that could be enough of a weakness that they, that shivering might think I'm weak, and next thing you know, I'm what's for dinner. So we're going to do it in Grizzer's pen, because if I start acting weird in Grizzer's pen, all he's going to do is a play bow to me and do the Grizzer 500 and take off. So I'm not too worried about that. So I do accept the challenge from Wolf Park. I will get that challenge. Like I said, I could go do it right now, but it would just be kind of a light misting, freezing rain out here. I don't know if that works. But fall is in the air. We're definitely seeing weather changes and wolf hair abound. So that's it for this week. Thanks for watching, and see you next week.